She told me if I didn't buy her a house by Christmas, we were done. I bought one, put it in my mom's name, moved in alone, and she showed up with boxes only to realize she had no power over me. When she said it, she didn't even flinch. We were sitting in a cafe, her nails tapping on the table like a metronome of entitlement. She didn't smile, didn't blink, didn't even lower her voice when she dropped it. If you don't buy me a house by Christmas, we're done. Not us. Not our home. Not building a future together. No, me buying her a house. Like I was some sort of walking mortgage with a pulse. I actually laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. She didn't laugh back. Instead, she added, I'm not going into 2026 living in this tiny apartment. My friends all have men who provide. I'm not settling. There it was. The real her. The version she kept hidden under cute selfies and soft voices. I took a slow sip of my coffee and simply said, challenge accepted. She smirked, thinking she won. She started talking about paint colors, furniture, how she wanted a walk-in closet big enough to get lost in. Meanwhile, I was thinking about something else entirely. A conversation I'd had with my mom 2 weeks earlier, when she said, if life ever pushes you out of that relationship, you can always come stay with me. I'll even help you find a place of your own. I didn't know then how soon I'd take her up on that. For the next 2 months, my girlfriend acted like a queen preparing for her coronation, telling friends she'd be moving into our house soon, dropping not-so-subtle hints about a ring, bragging about how standards are important. December rolled in, then December 20th, then Christmas Eve, and that's when I finally told her. I bought the house. She screamed with excitement, hugged me like she loved me more than oxygen, and demanded we move her things the next morning. I just said sure. She had no idea what was actually waiting for her. Christmas morning, she showed up at my apartment early, too early, dragging 2 giant moving boxes, a suitcase, and a trash bag filled with clothes she never bothered folding. She was practically vibrating with excitement. Where's the key? She asked before even saying Merry Christmas. I told her to follow me in her car. She didn't question anything. The house wasn't huge, but it was beautiful, newly renovated, a quiet street, a clean yard, perfect for someone starting fresh. She squealed the second she saw it, already imagining Instagram stories about new beginnings and manifesting luxury. She rushed ahead of me toward the door like she owned it. I didn't stop her. Not yet. She grabbed the handle and pulled. Locked. Give me the key, she demanded, bouncing on her toes. I handed her the envelope. She ripped it open, pulled out the key, and jammed it into the lock. It didn't turn. Confused, she tried again. Harder. Nothing. It's not working, she snapped. That's strange, I said calmly. Maybe the owner will help. The owner? She scrunched her face. You said you bought it. I did, I replied. But I didn't say I put it in my name. She blinked at me, the gears turning painfully slowly. The door opened. My mom stood there with a warm smile and a mug of coffee. Morning, she said. You must be the girl who thought she was moving into my house. My girlfriend's face drained of color so fast I thought she might faint. Why is she here? She stammered. Because, I said, she's the legal owner. I bought the house for her, not for you. Merry Christmas. My mom stepped aside and gestured for me to come in. I walked past my girlfriend, who still hadn't moved. She lunged forward and grabbed my arm. This isn't funny. Let me in. We're moving in together. No, I said, gently removing her hand. I moved in alone. A week ago. Her mouth dropped open. You moved in without me? Yesterday, I corrected. My stuff is already inside. She looked at my mom, then at the boxes she dragged with her. So where am I supposed to go? I shrugged. You have an apartment, and a lease, and standards, remember? Her voice cracked. But you said you'd buy me a house. I said challenge accepted. You assumed the challenge was you. The realization hit her like a brick. She wasn't the winner. She wasn't even the opponent. She was the test, and she failed spectacularly. She started to cry, loudly, dramatically, like the world was ending. My mom just sipped her coffee and said, keep your voice down. Some of us live here. My girlfriend wiped her tears with the back of her hand. You're choosing her over me? No, I said. I'm choosing me. And I'm done choosing someone who only wants a house, not a relationship. She didn't say anything after that. She just stood there while my mom closed the door. And as I watched her through the window, standing alone on the porch with her half-packed life falling out of a torn trash bag, I felt nothing. Not anger, not guilt, just clarity. The kind you feel when you finally stop pretending someone loves you and you see who they really are. Update that it's been a few weeks since that Christmas morning. My girlfriend hasn't contacted me once. At first, I expected calls, texts, maybe even a dramatic scene outside the house. Nothing, just silence. She tried to spread the story to her friends, of course, how I tricked her or lied about buying the house. I didn't respond to any of it. Eventually, most people realized the truth. I wasn't trying to humiliate her. I just stopped enabling her entitlement. The house. It's exactly what I wanted. Quiet, peaceful mind. My mom checks in every few days, mostly to make sure I haven't lost my mind moving in alone. I haven't, not even close. I've never slept better, never felt more in control of my own life. And there's something I didn't expect: freedom. Freedom to decide what I want, without someone else's demands dictating my choices. Freedom to plan a future for myself, not for someone who treats love like a transaction. Every time I walk through the front door, I remember that morning, her face, the boxes, the disbelief, and I smile quietly to myself. Not out of glee or revenge, but because I finally get it. The moment I chose myself over someone else's demands, everything changed. It's strange, but liberating. And for the first time in years, I feel like I can actually breathe. If she ever shows up again, I'll be polite. Maybe. But the house, my life, isn't for her anymore. Final update that it's been almost 6 months since that Christmas morning. The morning I bought a house, handed the keys to my mom, and left my ex-girlfriend standing on the porch like a storm she hadn't seen coming. I thought the story would settle itself quickly, a dramatic confrontation, some bruised egos, and then life would move on. But endings aren't usually that neat. Endings have a way of stretching, of winding through weeks and months, of teaching lessons slowly, and sometimes harshly. At first, after that morning, there was only silence from her. No calls, no texts, no confrontations. I didn't reach out either. I didn't need to. It was liberating in a way I hadn't expected. For the first time in years, my decisions weren't a negotiation. I wasn't apologizing for setting boundaries or for valuing my own time and energy. I was finally acting in my own life, without fear of judgment or manipulation. Her friends eventually found out what had happened. She tried to frame it as me tricking her, humiliating her, as if somehow this entire scenario was my fault. But the truth leaked through the cracks of her narrative. People began to see the reality. I didn't humiliate her. I didn't lie. I simply chose myself over someone who only wanted the world handed to her, without any effort, without consideration for anyone else's life. The house itself became a quiet sanctuary. I moved in alone, unpacking slowly, savoring the space. Every corner, every empty room, every quiet hallway reminded me that I was free to shape my life as I wanted. I didn't have to walk on eggshells, didn't have to second-guess myself, didn't have to bend or shrink to accommodate someone else's whims. My mom visited a few times, sometimes to check in, sometimes just to drop off cookies, but mostly she left me to it, giving me the space to finally breathe. And I did breathe, deeply and fully, for the first time in a long while. During this period, I started noticing the smaller things I hadn't realized I'd been missing. Mornings with no arguments, evenings where my thoughts weren't interrupted by complaints or demands, weekends where I could plan or cancel plans without consulting anyone but myself. There was no drama, no adrenaline rush from chaos, just a steady, quiet, calm life that I was finally allowed to have. It was incredible in its subtlety. She eventually resurfaced, not immediately, but over time, mostly through social media and mutual friends. I didn't engage. I saw glimpses of her frustration, the way she tried to regain attention, to rewrite the narrative in her favor, but it no longer touched me. I realized something crucial. The problem wasn't her anger, her disappointment, or even her attempts to reclaim control. The problem had always been that I had allowed myself to live in a dynamic that didn't honor my choices or my worth. By walking away, I had reclaimed both. One afternoon, I ran into one of her friends at a cafe. She asked, casually, "Did she ever tell you what happened with the house?" I smiled politely and shook my head. "She told me," she said, "but you seem fine." I was. I really was. I told her simply, "I am." It wasn't a boast. It wasn't smugness. It was an acknowledgement of the quiet strength that comes from finally choosing yourself. And it was true. I was fine. More than fine. I was relieved. I was free. Living alone has changed me. It's made me more patient, more deliberate. I no longer feel the constant tug of someone else's expectations. I've become better at listening to my own desires, at planning for the future on my own terms, at recognizing my own limits and honoring them. And while part of me still thinks about what could have been if things had gone differently, that thought no longer comes with longing or regret, only understanding. The ex-girlfriend? She eventually moved on. I heard through the grapevine that she's dating someone else now, probably someone who didn't mind her ultimatums or her sense of entitlement. I don't feel bitterness toward her. I don't need to. That chapter of my life isn't about anger. It's about clarity, finally seeing the reality of the people around you and choosing a path that aligns with who you truly are. The house remains mine, my sanctuary. I furnished it slowly, carefully, without rushing or trying to impress anyone. Every item, every detail, reflects choices I made for myself, not someone else. When I walk through the front door, I feel a sense of peace I didn't know was possible. The world doesn't demand my validation here. No one challenges my worth. No one makes me feel small. For the first time in years, I feel untethered, grounded, yes, but free. And that's the final lesson, the one that took a ridiculous ultimatum and a dramatic confrontation to teach me. Freedom isn't given. It isn't offered. It's taken. Sometimes you have to take it in the quietest, simplest ways, like signing a deed, moving in alone, and shutting the door behind the life that doesn't serve you. And when you do, the reward isn't drama, revenge, or validation from anyone else. It's the quiet, steady realization that you finally belong to yourself. And that's the only approval that ever matters. Life goes on. It's calm. It's predictable in a way I never thought I would crave. And I finally understand. Some challenges aren't about winning or losing. They're about discovering that choosing yourself is always the victory that matters.